IRCC has made some major changes to the international student program, guys, from the 350,000 cap to changes in postgraduate work permit. And that's what we want to talk about in this video. Hi guys, my name is Tara Bolade. On here, we talk about all things Canada, immigrating to Canada, living and thriving in Canada. And if that sounds like something you like, please subscribe to this channel and stick around. Help me reach the goal of 100 subscribers before the end of January. Now, let's get right into the news that IRCC announced recently. The first thing is the 350,000 student cap. IRCC has said that in 2024 and in 2025, they will only give study permits to 350,000 international students. How do they plan to achieve this? This 350,000 cap will be divided or will be distributed amongst provinces. And each province will have their cap. So that means each province cannot admit more than a certain amount of students. Now, IRCC has also said that the cap is determined by the population of that province. So the higher the population of a province, the higher the cap that they will give them. So for example, let's say Ontario. Ontario has more population compared to Winnipeg, I say Winnipeg, when compared to Winnipeg, right? So Ontario will have a higher cap, right, when compared to the cap that Winnipeg will have. So when IRCC will distribute the amount of international students that each province will have, that is determined by the population of that province. The higher your population, the higher your cap. The lower your population, the lower your cap. So that's one thing that IRCC has said. Another thing that IRCC has mentioned or has announced is that as of today, if you want to apply for a study permit, you need an attestation letter from the province that you're going to. That's the province that your school is in. Now, for you to get an attestation letter, you need to probably contact the province that you're going before you submit your study permit. However, if you're a master's student, if you're a PhD student, you do not need an attestation letter. You don't need an attestation letter. If you're a master's student, if you're a PhD student, if you're an elementary student or a secondary school student, all international students, if you fall into any of these categories, you do not need an attestation letter. But if you do not fall into these categories, you need an attestation letter from the province that your school is located in. I guess this ties back to the cap that IRCC will give each province regarding the amount of students or amount of international students that they can take annually. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but IRCC has said that this international student cap, this 350,000 per year cap, will only be implemented in 2024 and 2025. Towards the end of 2025, IRCC will go back to the drawing table and see if they want to continue with this or they want to go back to pre-2024 levels, right? Because this 350,000 cap or intake is a reduction, a 35% reduction in the amount of intake that they would usually allow. But now they are putting this cap and they will see after 2025 if they want to continue or not. That means allowing more students in after 2025. One other thing to note is if you're already in Canada and you're studying and you want to renew your study permit, you don't need an attestation letter from the province that you're in, right? You can go ahead to renew your study permit, but you don't need the attestation letter. Now let's go to the postgraduate work permit news. IRCC has announced that students that attend private schools that have affiliations with public school will no longer be eligible to apply for postgraduate work permits. So this means that if you are attending a school, a private school that have affiliation with public schools, you will not be able to apply for postgraduate work permits after your studies. These private schools have a curriculum licensing agreement with public schools. So that means that they can teach some certain curriculum. So let me break it down. Some private schools, right, they can teach the public schools curriculum. It's like a licensing agreement. They have the license to teach the curriculum of the public schools, right? And because of that, after students graduate from these schools, they can apply for a postgraduate work permit. And now IRCC is saying that those kind of private schools that have licensing agreements with public schools, students from those schools will not be able to apply for a postgraduate work permit from September 1st, 2024. So you have to watch the schools that you want to apply to as a student, as an international student. Don't just apply to any school. Make sure that those schools, you can apply for a postgraduate work permit after your studies. Right, so that is what that means. The good news is that master students and some short graduate level programs can now apply for a 3-year postgraduate work permit. You know, before, the length of your postgraduate work permit is based on the amount of years that you've used to study, right? If, for example, you have your master's degree and you studied for 1 year, you are eligible for 2 years postgraduate work permit. But now, as long as you're a master's student, you are eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit for 3 years. That has not been implemented yet. I think that also starts from September 1st, 2024 as well. Another major change the IRCC is bringing is SOWP, Spouse Open Work Permit. If you're a master's student or a PhD student, your spouse can apply for SOWP. But if you're an undergraduate student or a college student, your spouse unfortunately will not be able to apply for SOWP anymore. So those are the changes that IRCC has announced that will be coming up. One other thing that Immigration Minister also said is that there will be clearer pathways for international students. You know, before, I know there are a lot of pathways, but sometimes you still find out that students still go back home after their postgraduate work permit. But now, I think that they are trying to retain more international students. So now there'll be clearer pathways for international students in Canada, especially masters and PhD students. So guys, those are the major changes by IRCC regarding international students. That's the update that I wanted to bring to you. Thank you for staying to the end of the video, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.